My name is Jerome Altman. I am the director of the Exodus Drum and Bugle Corps. One of the greatest things that I found is that music is always an encouragement and uplifting, and it gives the kids a chance to do great things in the community.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Exodus Institute here at 816 North Laramie. Today, our special guest is Miss PeeRay.
Administration really broke our hearts because we put a lot of anticipation into what we thought it was going to be with having a black president, especially one from Chicago. But what that looked like for us is mass demolition. Right, they tore down all the houses, they put the red X's on them, and that didn't just happen in Chicago, that happened in every black municipality around the country. Chicago, St. Louis, Detroit, DC, Brooklyn, Queens, Norfolk, Virginia, Hampton, Virginia. There was a mass depopulation of black people from urban centers. Now, when we talk about black voting, what made black people so powerful is that we typically live in these municipalities, right? So we had concentrated votes. And so since the 1968 1968 presidential election, I think that they've been trying to punish Black Chicago because we embarrassed the Democratic Party. They were really sure that Nixon was not going to win, right? The Tribune even printed Dewey wins, right? In papers, they were ready to put them out. But because Black Chicago boycotted that vote, right? They said, the Democrats are taking us for granted. Everybody don't vote. Black folks didn't show up. It didn't go how it needed to go. And Nixon got in office, and he actually invited some game chiefs from Chicago to the inauguration to thank them for that political move that black people made in Chicago. So they could see then the power of the black vote. And I think I was talking to them before the show, we've been terrorized ever since. We've been getting whooped on ever since. So I think that, again, Obama really broke people's hearts, and now people don't want to participate. But I think now on the flip, because we can see what we're dealing with under our current presidential administration, black people are really anxious to vote. We're ready to change what we have going on. Black people are ready to change politically, because we can see who's working for us and who's representing us and what's not representing us. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good turnout.
So what say you, Sandra? What do you think about us about the political process and how it impacts us?
Oh, it does impact us. I loved Obama. I loved what he was trying to do, and he was blocked by a lot of stuff. The white man didn't want him to pass a lot of things. It wasn't just him. He was brilliant, but the system.
He was brilliant, but he had a lot of resistance.
Right.
From all, his cabinet, he had a lot of resistance.
Do you know that I ran out of the United States of America when Barack Obama was president because it was absolute hell? Now, people, again, I tell the truth, and I live this life for real. The Affordable Care Act said that in order for employers to give you a 30-hour schedule, that 30-plus hour schedule had to come with health care, okay? So the employers were only given 29.5-hour schedules, which meant you had to work 2 jobs to make a full check, and you still weren't getting health insurance, and then you're going to have to pay a fine, right? We all remember that. Yeah. And so I said to myself, I don't got to stay here. And I got my 4-year-old and we moved to Senegal. And I stayed there until the administration switched over. And when Trump got in office, I came back home. I'm serious. I'm dead serious. It was like political exile. So for me, I don't look at Obama as this influential figure. What I look at is a president that black people lost 70% of our wealth. Now that's all the wealth that we gathered from 1863 emancipation to 2016. And we lost 70% of it. while he was in office, right? But we don't talk about that enough, right? Because we talk about what it looked like and his wife and his daughters and yes we can and blackness and all this good stuff. That man is not a Negro like us. That man is a Kenyan Irish man. And so he was not open to what the Negro needed to go through and what we wanted to talk about. That's why he said, I'm not a black folks president. I don't want to talk about black issues. I went to a HBCU. And before Trump got in office, when Obama was in office, HBCUs were closing. Okay, some HBCUs were closing. The reason being, friends, is because the HBCUs had to go before Congress every single year and beg for appropriation money. And some years they would tell them, no, we're not giving y'all no money this year. And so Trump, along with Omarosa, a lot of people talk bad about Omarosa, but she got this done. She said, take that budget out of Congress and make it a line item in the HBCU budget. In the White House budget. The White House budget is automatically funded. So if you make the HBCUs a line item, they'll be permanently funded. He said, okay, the HBCUs got more money than they ever got in their whole life. You see what I'm saying? So if you want to do it, you can do it. What stopped Obama from helping those HBCUs close? Stay open rather. What stopped Obama?
I don't know, but there was
nothing.
a lot of conflict.
He did what he wanted to do, ma'am. He got them gays right.
Conflict when he was in office.
Mm-hmm.
What?
I was to say Obamacare.
Well, I just told you how Obamacare made me run out the country. You know what I'm saying? For people who was working out here for real, getting these hourly positions, because at that time I was an English professor I was telling you about. I was an English professor. I couldn't get no full time, you know what I'm saying? Even though we had tons of students, you know what I'm saying, moving in, I couldn't pick up all them hours. They said anything over 29.5, we're going to have to pay you health insurance. No. You see? And two, like I said, he got gays, all them rights. Now, a lot of people say gays, the right to love, all that stuff. LGBT is nothing but giving white men minority rights. Nothing more, nothing less. That's all it did was move white men into a minority status, which gave them access to everything that was meant for us. That's what that man did. You know what I'm saying? So for me,
explain that.
Yes, ma'am. So LGBTQIA+, that's what they are. Within that, the only people who really benefited from that and gained more rights were white men. Because if you was a black person, you got minority. If you was a white woman, you was a minority. So who did that leave out? White men. So now you can say I'm LGBTQIA+ and get the same thing that the minorities were getting. You don't gotta have no proof that you are, nothing. All you gotta do is identify, right? And the I in it, I think that means like investigating or something like that. So you don't even have to really be homosexual. All you have to do is identify under this label, and the plus can be anything you want it to be. Identify under this label, and as a white man, now you get the same thing as minorities, because that label makes you a minority.
Now that's the first time I've heard that explanation.
Thank you, ma'am.
That is, I clearly understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I've never looked at it like that.
That's exactly.
And I wonder if anybody else, if a number of us have looked at it like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because that explains why the LBG got to be so popular so quickly.
White male social power.
White male social, listen to this woman. White male social, what do you say about that, Dr. Jackson?
I'm still wondering about all the statistics being thrown around, because if we follow the logic of what you're saying is, I don't see how you end up with 61% of the black population being in the middle class.
I told you, if for anybody that want to look it up, the Brookings Institute published.
I'm not talking about that part of it.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about is the part that, you said something about 70% of
Black wealth was lost during the Obama administration. Look it up. That's all
I'm not denying that. What I'm trying to say is, if 70% of the black population's wealth was lost, and we still 61% of us is in the middle class, those figures aren't coming together enough for me to.
I'll tell you. Let me explain this to you. As a finance person, this is not advice for the recorded line, but I work in finance. When we look at net worth and class status and all that kind of stuff, people normally base their worth or their wait, so you ask me a question. Black folks normally put all of our wealth in our houses, right? That's black wealth. That's what we think. When it's time to say you make something, you go get you a house.
Right.
So all of this black wealth was wrapped up in all of this housing and that real estate that they messed up. And so when the real estate market crashed, and in July, I believe that was July 17th, 2008, because I was working at Morgan Stanley in New York City on Wall Street, and those people were going crazy because the markets were crashing. And Bear Stearns, president, got on TV and laughed and said that we're not closing. Everybody said that you going to jail. At the end of the day, they were closed. I was there, okay? All of this wealth was wiped out immediately within a week. So then black people start foreclosing on their houses, right? So now I got a foreclosed home, and now I got to rent, or I got to move, like I said, to the middle of nowhere, Indiana. But I still making the money that I'm making. I didn't go down in my wealth. I didn't go down in my skills. I didn't go down in my ability. The only thing that I lost was my wealth, which was that real estate. And Obama had all of the power in the world to make sure that those banks did not snatch that from us. But what Obama's Treasury Secretary or Chief Economist, what she said was, this was not a stimulus move, this was an economic move. Meaning that we didn't do this for the people, we did it for the banks. And that's why they bailed out the banks and not the people, and let the banks take all of our houses. And now we got people over here buying them for cash, laundering money. And wait, hold on, and I want to bring up that money. How do I know they're laundering money?
Now, let me say something.
Yes, sir.
Let me say, I just want to say again, I'm listening to you. And it's not that I want to disagree with you. I don't care about it. But even at the end of your argument, you say the banks won everything, and people who weren't in the banks didn't win anything. So I'm saying again, well then how do we end up with 61%?
We're still making money.
Let me get my thought out, because you're misunderstanding where I'm going with this. I looked up Inglewood, and it says 52% of the households in Inglewood have an income less than $25,000. And I guess it's talking about poverty, I don't know. Versus only 25% of households in the city of Chicago. You know, and because Inglewood is always, you know, almost always places it's a poor community. You know, Austin not so much as that. You know, but it seems to, you know, verify more that, you know, there is economic problems in the African American community, as opposed to not being, because when you have 61% of the people living middle class, that's saying a whole lot. You know, and I'm just saying, when they say 50% of the people, 50% of the people in Inglewood, you know, under $25,000, I guess that's the poverty line, or maybe it's 19,000. You know, but it doesn't say it's like something to be sharing about.
Do you think that Inglewood represents the overwhelming population of Black Chicago? Because if you don't know, Austin is the largest Black community in America. The largest Black community of America is right here in the Austin community, and we ain't broke. Ain't never been, like I said, community homeowners. Our people came from North Lawndale. When they want to move from off Roosevelt Road, they came right here to Austin and built their dreams. And I'm so glad they did.
Okay, that doesn't mean that there's a lot of, you know, prosperity in the Black community, especially if you compare us with the rest of the world. You know, I'm just saying that, you know, like, I guess I'm just saying it's not as prosperous either. You know,
but do you think that more people are living, do you think that more Black people are living like they are in Inglewood than not? Do you think that they represent our majority?
I ain't gonna go over.
Speak up. Speak up. So they can hear you.
I mean, I don't, because I feel like I can't really explain right
Go ahead, you got all your words.
I don't think it's not the poorest one. You know, like Inglewood and Austin Rose, and I don't think they're the poorest ones also. Well, I guess I would, before I read about it, they tend to have a lot of poverty, you know, but it's not so much, again, like they're really prosperous, because if it was that prosperous, it wouldn't make no sense in this argument and complaining against a lot of things, against the things that Obama wasn't able to do. That means Obama either succeeded or he didn't. And apparently he didn't always succeed in everything he was trying to do, which left the black community wanting. It left us going back to what this original conversation was about doing this experiment. How have we benefited doing this American experiment in democracy? How have we benefited? And I go back to things saying because we don't have enough black history to study the things that took place in the African American community, that we don't always, see how we can't pass down that knowledge about how we was, discriminated against, beat down economically, not just politically. Where they could go into a place like Oklahoma, kill up all those people, and the whole media, white media, made it seem like it was the blacks' fault who did that. And they took away all that property. Same way during the Reconstruction, they took away all that property. Now, I'm getting from what you're saying, not I didn't guess it, but I get what you're saying. It's like we built back to a big, big thing, and we have more than we really need. We acknowledge ourselves about. Maybe we do, but it seems like if we got back all the stuff that they took away, what are we fighting for reparations and stuff for now? Why are we talking about that? Why are we talking about if we had that much money on our side that could help us out, why do we have so much police violence against?
Those are two separate things. So
against oppressed people, and I'm gonna turn it over to you.
So our ability to generate a wage has absolutely nothing to do with the police. It don't have anything to do with the terrorism, right? Because again, this is our country. We know how to make money in America. This is why if the Negro was our own country, we would be the 16th richest country on the planet. That's why everybody come to us to scoop a little bit out of us, because black folks got money. And what I learned too when I lived in Africa is that black people, somebody said something about Africa, but yeah.
Brian, can you hear us?
Barely. I mean, I can. It's like the volume is very loud.
Oh, okay. Well, we hear you very loudly. So when you're moving around and talking, we can hear you.
Mute.
Oh, somebody there.
Yeah.
Hey.
So we're gonna allow her to continue to talk. I'm gonna mute you when you want to talk. Unmute yourself.
Oh yeah, so when I lived in Africa, what I've seen too is like this whole concept of brokenness is, again, something that's pushed on black folks. In Senegal, the women got money for skin bleach. The women got money for weed, okay? Everybody over there got on a $300 wig, just like them girls outside. So in my mind, I say, y'all ain't broke. You know what I'm saying? If you got money for that, you ain't broke whatsoever. And so that's what I'm saying. Black folks got money. But the terrorism that we went through, like I said, that's the reparations. The reparations don't have nothing to do with the fact that black folks are not generating money. The reparations are to pay for the state-sponsored terrorism that we've been subjected to. Because if you look just in recent American history, I love war and international politics, all that kind of stuff. So sorry if I nerd out. But in the 90s, we fought Milosevic. Remember Milosevic from the 90s? He was the boogeyman in Bosnia. And we went over there and bombed all them people. We locked him up for state-sponsored terrorism. We hung Saddam Hussein on national TV for state-sponsored terrorism. We made sure they shot Gaddafi in his head on international TV. For what? State, when Obama was in office. For what? State-sponsored terrorism. So if the Negro has been subjected to state-sponsored terrorism, then we want the United States of America to sort that out as well. We ain't never hesitated to send our military to, not do that for nobody else. You know what I'm saying? We ain't never, even in Ukraine now, what are we fighting for? Terrorism. They say that the Russians are terrorizing the Ukrainians. So we got all this money, all this sympathy. We got to bring them in our country. We got to hang their flags, to support their fight against terrorism. We want that same energy for the Negro. This is our country. We're not going to keep on asking you for it. Because the Negro also has to understand the power of our vote is that after the German Americans, it's the African Americans, as far as ethnicities in these countries. In our country. And what makes the Negro unique is that 100% of us are citizens, which means that all of us got the right to vote, right? So if all of us got the right to vote, that makes us a very powerful political base. And this is why they say in every single election is going to be the black vote that decides the vote. Because we got the most, you know what I'm saying?
But do you think we even know?
We don't know. No, that's what I'm saying. They just tell us that we ain't. They keep on saying what it ain't gonna be and what we can't do it. If you vote, it don't count. So some people don't vote at all. And I ain't gonna do it. And ooh, this corrupt. And I believed in Obama. And Obama broke my heart, so I ain't never voting no more. Then I see we got Joe, but then it was better under Trump. They told me to hate Trump. Now I miss him. Oh, what we gonna do, right? Confusion. And that's why on my show, I don't push for no confusion. You know what I'm saying? We get straight facts on the show. I read straight primary sources, play direct quotes from people. I had Michael Flynn on my show, who is the former national security advisor under Trump, and he was the director of the Defense Intelligence Agency under Obama. I brought him on WVON to talk to black people about the cartel and how the cartel here and how this is terrorism. Real live terrorism against black people. They did the same thing in LA. The hate crimes against black folks from Mexicans and the cartel is so bad in LA that they got a special hotline for you to report your hate crime, 211, because they was clogging up the 911 lines. That's how bad it is. So anyway, the National Defense Secretary, the National Security Advisor came on VON and told us, black folks, this was finna go down. You know what I'm saying? This is what's finna happen. These people got guns. They got military stuff. The border is open. They selling these drugs. They buying up y'all community for cash because they're laundering the money. But if the National Security Advisor did not come and tell us that, we never would have known that, because after it gets filtered out of his mouth through all the media, we get the talking heads, you know, on MSNBC, CNN, and they telling us what they think about what they read rather than just giving it to us straight. And that's what we confused, but we gotta tell each other the truth. And that's what I do on my show. I tell people only the truth, you know, and we talk to primary sources, like when they gave that $51 million to the immigrants, the illegal aliens, we're not calling them migrants. Our people are migrants, right? When you migrate from Mississippi to Chicago, that's a migrant. When you go from Chicago to Indiana, that's a migrant, right? Citizens, these are illegal aliens. We gave $51 million to them. You know what that money came from? We got some money, an opioid settlement. That money was supposed to go and build rehabs around Chicago to help neighborhoods come back from the opioid crisis. So all these people you see leaning and rocking out here could have been in rehab. Yes, they had the money, but they gave it to them. And we wouldn't have even known that if Ray Lopez didn't come on my show and tell me that. You know, or tell Chicago that. He said, I want to let everybody know that this is not tax money, this is opioid settlement money. So everybody just know that. And then that's how it got out to the public. So again, if you keep us confused, if you keep us in our feelings, if you keep us looking backwards, if you, in the book of Genesis, when God commanded the people to leave Babylon, he told them, leave and don't look back, right? And Lot and his wife, they marching out. Lot's wife turned around. What happened to her? Turned to a pillar of salt. So if you keep on turning around, you're going to be salty and insignificant. Period. It's in the Bible. She didn't even have a name. You know what I'm saying? She's just a salty, insignificant woman. So if you keep on looking backwards, trying to see what it was, you're not going to move forward. You're not going to be nothing. That's why I say look forward. Think about what we can do, the power that we do have, especially as we start gathering knowledge and knowing that we're fully free. Ain't nothing, your limitations are here. But anything you want to do, you can do. Pop out and do it. Like, ain't nothing holding you back but people telling you that you can't.
Man, I'm so proud to have you on the show.
Thank you.
Spread the word, tell folks what time it is. We need that. Our young people need that. They need to know that they have the power to do whatever they need to do and that they can do it. And that we're not poor and misled people. We're knowledgeable. I know we are because I'm listening to you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. I appreciate all your comments. Does anybody else have a comment about what this young lady has had to say?
I think she hit everything on her head.
She hit everything on
I have a comment.
Yes, sir. Yes, Brian. Yes, sir. Go right on.
And it's to the lady, how are things better under Trump?
Yes, thank you for asking. Thank you so much for asking. So right now we are on Chicago Avenue in Laramie. There is a gas station right there on the corner. The gas today, I believe, was $4.59. When Trump was in office, I saw gas as low as $1.98 right there. I got the picture to prove it. When Trump left office, gas was $2.39. The reason that the gas was lower under Trump is because he believed in domestic drilling, which was that Keystone Pipeline. When the Keystone Pipeline opened, it allowed the United States to produce its own oil, which meant that we would be less dependent upon OPEC. When we became less, OPEC is the oil producing, I'll look it up. Anyway, OPEC is a group of countries that produce the oil. So when America does not drill for itself, it causes the price of oil to go up because they know that it's going to be a higher demand for it. But when America opened up its own pipeline, that's when the price of oil went down because they knew that it would be a global decrease in the demand for oil. So that's why the gas prices was popping under Trump. Okay, wait. So you can agree with that?
Zero accolades for Donald Trump.
And that's okay, honey. It's not for everybody. The Trump train not for everybody, honey, and we're not trying to force nobody on it. All we can do is present to people what the facts are right now compared to what they were back then.
The fact is that he was a malignant narcissist.
Okay. And the gas was cheap and I had more money in my pocket. That's between him and the Lord. That's how the Lord sent him here. I don't care nothing about his personality. I care about my money. I care about what I'm able to do for my baby. I care about the safety of my people.
He also created a pandemic.
No, he didn't. He didn't create a pandemic. This was a global.
He just handled it.
No, he didn't. No, how? Compared to who? Compared to who, my love? This was the first time.
Provide people with the
That's not true.
gear that we needed, and discontinue a pandemic department called for Fauci's prosecution. So I mean,
Thank you for bringing all of that up. So the first thing that I want to share with you is that if you take out your phone and you start Googling vaccine injuries, that's the first thing that I want you to focus on, okay? Because the FDA has removed approval for both the Johnson & Johnson shot and that Moderna shot. Look it up. People are falling out. Okay, that is mRNA technology, and if you took it, that's your business. Now, I do want to share this about the pandemic. I lost my grandmother during the pandemic and my aunt. I had COVID twice. Okay, let me tell you, with my grandmother was living right here with me, okay, in her building. This is my grandma. I love her to the depths of my soul. If I can dig up her body and wash her bones and sit on the couch, I would. I love her so much, okay? My grandmother got sick, went to the nursing home. Because I read international news, I saw when the virus was moving from China to Italy, okay? I told my people, we got to get mama up out of there, okay? It's a virus coming and it's moving west. And it's finna go down. They, of course, you crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. You know what they say. You just read crazy stuff. Okay, cool. So the virus got a little closer. It was on the East Coast. I said, okay, it's time to go get mama. I called the nursing home. Y'all can put my grandma's shoes on because I'm finna come get her. Halfway at the door when I get there. They said, no, ma'am. She has an infection and we can't let her out. I said, okay, this was February. I said, okay, no problem. I'm gonna give y'all 2 weeks. I'm gonna come get her. It's getting closer and closer. I called back up there. Y'all can get my grandma. It's been 14 days. Ma'am, she's been exposed to this new virus and we cannot let her come home. She has to be quarantined for 14 days. So after she goes through this quarantine because of her exposure, we can let her out. That was a law that was passed by J.B. Pritzker. Okay, not Donald Trump. Pritzker kept my mom in that nursing home. Wait a minute, honey, I'm not done. I got two stories. Wait a minute, because you brought this up. And I'm gonna tell you what the state of Illinois under a Democratic governor did to my family. So also, I could go back 2 weeks later. I'm ready to get my mom, bring her to the door. I'm sorry, ma'am. She got the virus. Okay, so my grandmother, because the state of Illinois said that she could not get out of that nursing home, I could not go get her when I'm literally beating on the glass, telling them to let her out. That's the state of Illinois. Story number one. Story number two, my auntie died. My uncle, who she was taking care of, he was supposed to be on hospice. She took really great care of him. He lived 2 years, so he's sitting up telling jokes and everything. He got to go to the VA back and forth. He catches COVID, but he's asymptomatic. If you are asymptomatic, they don't leave you in the hospital according to the laws of the state of Illinois. They sent him back to my family home where 8 other people were living. When I went there that day, my auntie said, no, we're not taking no visitors. I said, what you mean? I got a cake, let me in. She said, a cake, come on in. We cutting up the cake, I'm splitting it with her. She said, I just want to let you know we got COVID in this house. I said, you got COVID in this house? You're supposed to leave with that at the gate. She said, well, you want to come in. So we laugh about it or whatever. Again, we're cutting up the cake. 3 days later, I had COVID, my auntie had COVID, and she passed away. Now, the state of Illinois came up with the rule that if you are asymptomatic, you go home instead of having you quarantined at the hospital. Again, Trump didn't have nothing to do with that. And so many people talk about what Trump did and did not do that resulted in people's deaths without looking at how the local municipalities and state rules impacted their families. Trump didn't lock my grandma in there, and Trump didn't send my uncle home. That was J.B. Pritzker who did that. That was the state house in Illinois who did that. And people, again, they say Trump say put chlorine in your body. That is a chemical that they use to clean the blood. You want to know how I healed myself twice from COVID? By taking hydrochloroquine. If you get a prescription of hydrochloroquine, you take them pills for 3 days, it's gone. No more coughing, no more headache. You get your taste, you're smooth, you can move all around. But they didn't want to push that out to the people. That's what people got to see. People were not reading. People did not read. People were feeling. People were mourning. People were going through all type of emotions, listening to what these people telling you to do, or listening to what these people telling you going on, not knowing that this is a whole big old trick. And here we go in 2023 with less money, higher gas, an open border. We got literal human trafficking going on in the city of Chicago that's being funded by the Chicago taxpayer. All these people who coming up here paid the cartel to bring them here. Okay, did nobody get kidnapped up here? All of these people paid to come, and once you do business with the cartel, that is illegal. So all these people getting trafficked up here according to the U.S. code are supposed to be pushed out because they were trafficked up here by the cartel. What's going on? Trump not doing that. Trump not doing that. Trump didn't get the rehab money and give it to these illegal aliens. Trump didn't do that. So when we talk about what Trump, what he did, we can talk about what he ain't do, and it ain't this.
Okay.
So yes, ma'am. I'll give him a talk show.
Stimulus.
Right, and he was giving out stimulus checks.
I ain't giving him no credit.
He gave us 3 stimulus.
He did. Everybody was waiting on them stimulus checks, right?
If he run the black people, make we all run.
All right. Oh, you've raised some interesting points.
Thank you.
Interesting concepts.
Like for me, again, I told y'all I ran away. I'm sorry if I'm talking too much, but I ran away to Africa. I came back to the States. I'm over here on my couch in the middle of the night on this black gossip site called Gossip. They said Sunken Place Coon Festival, right? And I seen Ben Carson picture right there. So I'm like, a Sunken Place Coon Festival, what is this? So I click it, and I see that they're having this event called the Young Black Leadership Summit in Gaithersburg, Maryland, which was supposed to be a group of young black people from all over the country, and Ben Carson was gonna be on the dais. I say, cool, I'm gonna see if they still taking people, and if I get in the room with Ben Carson, I'm gonna talk to him about these red X's on these buildings. I'm gonna talk to him about the CHA money, this project money that they hoard, and all these empty lots. All this chaos in Chicago is housing. So I plan to go to the event. 3 days later, I get an email that say the President of the United States requests your presence in the East Room. Please RSVP. I'm like, ooh. So I RSVP, I go to the White House, okay? I walk into the East Room of the White House, and there is Dr. Carson. I say, Dr. Carson, I'm me. I came from Chicago, and I'm here because this administration talks a lot of trash about my city, and it needs to stop, okay? You, the HUD secretary, we dealing with federal housing mismanagement. If you do your job, we can do our job. We the children of Mississippi cotton pickers. Ain't nobody stronger than us. Ain't nobody tougher than us. Ain't nobody gonna outwork us, okay? You do your part, we'll do ours. So he started laughing like you laughing. And he said, I get it. I'm from Detroit. I get it. But he said the issue is the automatic prerogative. So the automatic prerogative used to give the alderman the ability to veto any type of development they don't want in their ward. So this is why the projects didn't get rebuilt, because don't know aldermen want no projects in their ward, right? So you could just say no. You know what I'm saying? So that's how CHA was able to hoard almost $1 billion, y'all, for 20 years. CHA is the only city the only city agency that's in the green. They paid off their pensions and their debts with all this Fed money. And the way they were able to do that is through Rahm Emanuel and Andrew Cuomo. So Rahm was the chief of staff. Cuomo was the HUD secretary under Clinton. They got together, removed Chicago from all type of restrictions and oversight, and then Rahm came here and did his thing. And that's how we lost the house. Anyway, I digress. So he said, we're going to get rid of that automatic prerogative. That's housing discrimination, housing segregation. We can sue the city of Chicago for that. We gonna tell them get rid of that automatic prerogative, and then they gonna be forced to spend the money. And I promise you gonna see more development than you ever see. I'm like, wow, thank you, Dr. Carson. So then Trump get on the stage and get a best black speech I ever heard in my life. And I'm saying this as somebody who grew up as a black nationalist. My daddy got a history degree. We listen on the weekend when you clean up. You ain't listening to R&B. We listening to VON, Jesse Jackson, and Louis Farrakhan, and tapes of the Honorable Marcus Garvey. Right, that's my kind of black house. But Trump got on that stage as the president of the United States and said, black people, y'all built this country. Y'all deserve the credit. Y'all did the most work. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, wow. So then we in the White House, I'm talking about black people between the ages of like 16 to 30 from every corner of America, and they're screaming, we free. I'm like, wow. I'm screaming, we free in the White House as a child of a slave. This is crazy. So he said, go back, tell them what we own. The Congressional Black Caucus is boycotting me. They don't want to talk to me. So this is why I brought y'all to the White House, so y'all can tell me what's going on straight from young black America. I'm like, all right, cool. So then I come back to Chicago. I tell people, I went to the White House. I seen Trump. They're like, boo, get out of here. You know, throwing tomatoes and stuff. And so when Lori got in office, Lori went after I went. The first thing she did, she went to go see Trump. She went to see Trump, Ivanka, and Ben Carson. She came back, she opened that city council for the first time and said, no more automatic prerogative. I'm like, oh my God, this is what Dr. Carson said was gonna happen. And that's the only way Lori was able to take all that power from the city council and not end up in the river, because Trump had her back, but she'll never say that. So Trump had her back in that instance. Then during the riots, remember when they were shooting the bottle rockets at the police down there at the Columbus? So her and Trump was working together again. That's why she never came on my show. She loved my show, but she never came on it. Cause I told her I'm gonna ask you about this in the public. Trump made an executive order that made it illegal to attack statues or something like that. So then Lori used that as a way to bring in the feds. The night before the feds got here, Lori took down all the Columbus statues in the city. Remember, she's come down in the middle of the night? Then when the feds got here, she sent them to the west and the south sides, and that's how they started Operation Legend. So when Trump offered her those feds, she took them. But she couldn't say it out loud. It's got to be ignorant on the camera. But behind the scenes, he was doing his thing for the city. And that's why I was telling people, if you take your time and read the articles, rather than listening to what the people telling you, you will see that these are two very different stories. Then we did Black Chicago for Trump, which was popping. We got a 30% increase of black people to vote for him. And I got my show, and I'm on VON, turning Black Chicago red very, very rapidly through facts and self-esteem. That's it. That's all I'm gonna tell you. Facts and self-esteem, feel good about yourself, you ain't pitiful, and make sure you read it for yourself. Don't let nobody tell you what happened, because everybody literate. So help yourself, help yourself. I got you, honey.
Woo! All right. Thank you for that presentation. We appreciate it. And ladies and gentlemen, we are now at the close of our show. Thank you so much for coming on. And
No more comments from
Brian dropped off, and Madeline we haven't heard.
I'm still on there.
Okay, Madeline, do you have any comment?
I heard everything that PeeRay said.
And so, do you have any comment?
Do I have any comments?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, what I can say is that I know that Donald Trump did some good things for blacks when he was in office. He is not the monster that some people have, especially blacks, have been trying to portray him as.
Okay.
Is he a racist? There are lanes of racism. I'll put it that way. And to that end, you got a lot of liberal, I put that in quotes, white folks in this country, some of whom had done good to try to help the cause of ending racism, but you got a lot of phonies, only white folks. I've been on this earth a long time, Wanda, as you know. I've seen it all. You know, the playbook looks real. It has a lot of little points all throughout it because we've been played. And the thing is, when I say we, I'm talking about black folks. I am neither, frankly, I'm neither a Republican nor a Democrat. I've always been an independent, and I have over the years voted for Republicans when I thought that they had political interests or philosophical thinking that was in the best interest of blacks. So I can relate to what PeeRay is saying.
All right.
We need to not, and I know how it happened. We blacks started off in the Republican Party. And then in '64, when Johnson passed the Civil Rights Act passed, the Voting Rights Act passed, black people started flooding into the Democratic Party. And when we look at any of these urban cities that are dominated by blacks, there are a few, very, very few prosperous communities that are dominated by blacks in the United States. But the majority have not been sustained through resourcing and services provided. Our communities, politicians get elected, and I'm talking about black politicians. They get elected for the check. They come out and give good speeches when it's convenient, and that's all they do. And we have to demand what is ours. And so, what PeeRay is saying, what she has, we have to understand that nobody's going to be giving us anything. We have to demand what is ours. We have to demand and expect and expect town hall meetings and expect black prophets to deliver. Otherwise, if they don't, when election time comes up, do like white folks do, for example, other people. They got somebody sitting in the wings waiting to kick that other person out of office. They don't keep voting for people who are not doing anything. That's crazy. And we need to stop doing that.
Yes, we do.
Because we've been losing big time. And that's my spiel on that.
Thank you. Anybody else have a comment before we close? All right. Well, I'd like to thank all of you for participating. And I think that this is a subject that we need to come back and discuss some more, because there's so much confusion about what Trump did or didn't do, and what the president is doing or not doing. And we need to save our children, our young people. That should be our focus, because we're not going to be here forever. So we need to make sure that they know how the game is played. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us, and we will see you again.
By the way, one.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Did you hear what happened? Did you hear about what happened with Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son?
Yes.
He was charged with a slap on the wrist for being a drug addict.
Yeah.
And having possession of a gun, and 2 years of probation, so that if he completes the 2 years of probation, the felony will be dropped. Now, how many black folks do you think that would have happened for?
I don't think it would have happened for anybody.
It's deeper than that, y'all. That's the whole thing. So that's what he pled to. The real story in all of this is Ukraine. So there's this group called Burisma Oil and Gas. Burisma Oil and Gas is a state-owned oil and gas company in Ukraine. Hunter Biden sat on their board. They paid Hunter Biden $1.5 million for year 2017, 2018. The reason why they paid him so much money is because they was paying him so that he could use his father to influence what they had going on and influence as American people. And so that's why we in Ukraine right now. Y'all see, soon as Joe got in office, we went to Ukraine and they blew up. So Burisma wanted to run pipelines from Russia into mainland Europe. And if you run the pipelines through Ukraine, then you got to pay taxes and tolls for them using the land. So they said, no, we're not going to do that. We're just going to pull the pipeline through the sea, and then we'll take it straight to Germany, and then we'll just forego all of that. They blew up their pipeline. It's a mystery who blew up the pipeline, because the Europeans say, we didn't blow it up, we needed the gas, and the Russians say, we didn't blow it up because we're trying to sell the gas. So who blew up the pipeline, right? They blew up their pipeline. It's called the Nord Stream. Stopped building the Nord Stream 2. Then when they wanted to investigate Hunter Biden and all this corruption, there was a prosecutor who was really investigating him in Ukraine. Joe's sitting on the stage doing a press conference. Anybody can look this up. He telling the story I'm telling right now.